Hey traders, Raghee here. Let's get a quick audio and video check-in for Charts and Coffee for Tuesday for January 26th. Great to see everybody. All right, I think we're good to go. All right, happy Tuesday, gang. All right, so today is Get After It Day. Most active, I won't say important, but most active earnings week on the horizon. Apple coming up. Good to see everybody. All right, so let's get to it. Let's tackle some questions. Let's take a look at the calendar. First of all, take a look at what we have coming up tomorrow. And we're going to take a look at the broader averages here. So what do we have coming up tomorrow? We actually have I'm going to head on over to the Forex Factory calendar. We have the FOMC. Now, my general rule is that going into any Powell event, going into any speech, FOMC event, I'm going to be focused on the long side of the market. So it's going to be a higher probability play to look to the long side into any FOMC event. Now, what makes tomorrow's FOMC event? It's going to be day 2. Today's day 1, but tomorrow is the press conference and everything else. What's really going to be interesting about that event is that after the bell, usually when we see a buy the rumor and then sort of a stall or even sell the news after an FOMC press conference or even during, we have Apple coming up. And that's going to really change the way in which I think this Wednesday, January 27 FOMC event is going to behave. We may not see that same kind of sell because of Apple's weighting in the 3 broader averages in the three main indices. So let's keep that in mind in terms of today, the bias that we'll keep, and then going into tomorrow, that sell post Powell just may not be the same type of setup. All right, so first question here as we kick it off, and thank you very much. Audio and video is good, excellent. All right, so we have a question from Harry who asked, do we have a action plan on Tesla? Well, the first thing in the action plan is always, what's the directional bias? Clearly, this is a double green. Earnings, as you can see there, on the 27th. So tomorrow after the bell. Do I want to be playing Tesla so close to earnings? No, I mean, for what I like to do, it's really much more of a preemptive look. If I know that I've got earnings on the 27th, I'm really going to be looking at this date minus 6 weeks. And that's when I'm thinking about, all right, well, if earnings are coming up, let me go back 6 weeks. That's going to take me, easily, right, into early December. And just go back on the calendar. And then I start to look at buy the dip opportunities if 6 weeks out, we are in fact double green. I mean, that's the idea. That's what we're looking for. And so right now, going into Tesla, not interested. What I'd love to see, if Tesla rallies from here, this is where having that early position is so important, because what happens is you're able to scale out, right? You're able to scale out. You're able to move to a trailing stop. And then that way, if you think you can absorb the expected move, right? Whatever that expected move is, then you could sit through. But I won't have a position that hasn't been scaled out, that I haven't paid myself on going into earnings. I mean, that's really a big part of what I'll look at. Could we review Peloton? Absolutely. So, also keep in mind where Tesla's weighted, and where its weighting is now is very different than the weighting that Tesla had even, going back 12 months, 6 months, right? Okay, so moving on to Peloton, another double green. Earnings is on the 8th. So again, -6, -4, -2 weeks. Those are the windows I'm looking at specifically. Really anything inside of 2 weeks becomes kind of susceptible to IV crush. But since we're getting out before earnings, not as big a deal. I mean, Starbucks is one of those positions for me today, by the way. But Peloton on pullbacks. Look, what are we trying to take advantage of? Candles like this one. Candles like that one, candles like this one. This is the 21 exponential moving average. This is the 34 EMA. on the high. I mean, these are the kind of opportunities that I'll focus on. They don't have to be dramatic pullbacks. They don't have to be dramatic sell-offs, but I would like them to come back down to levels that do represent some sort of retracement, aka the dip, and then we can look to buy the calls, even set up a call vertical, right, into a setup like that. All right, next up, sure, what do we got going on in NTAP? Sure, let's jump on over there. Again, start with the underlying. By the way, this is the TradeStation platform that I'm on right now, but we can also use TradingView and Thinkorswim. So these are the three platforms that I'll kind of use throughout the day in my trading day, and then also here in the Charts and Coffee Show. NTAP. So whose question? Oh, Jason. So cool question on NTAP. I mean, that's it right there. So am I interested in the candle as it moves higher? Right? I'm really not. Right? That's the opportunity. That candle right there is the opportunity because, well, that's the pullback, right? Overall uptrend, double green, pulling back to the wave. That's my bread and butter. Now, all my cards on the table, this is also a viable level 2 at the 21. That would be an aggressive level. This would be the other level at the 34 EMA on the high. Okay, great question. Moving higher, that's terrific follow through. Moving lower, that's the swing. That's the pitch that we want to take advantage of. All right. So next up is SLV, silver. So I'm going to start off with a look at the silver futures. Silver futures then lead me to the SLV ETF. Silver's choppy. Silver's very, very choppy. There are a few metals that I'm interested in, 2 metals that I'm interested in. Silver was one of them. I've got my eye on gold. Gold's got an oversold level that I'm looking to buy, but I can't say silver's at the top of the list anymore. Copper is, right? Since we're talking about metals, let's talk about copper, because silver and copper, SLV and the HG futures have a whole lot more in common than, say, where we are right now on gold. I like the copper pullbacks. And one way to play this, for some of you saying, Rog, I don't play futures. This is the $4,600 futures contract. All right. And you would most definitely be looking at right now, as you can see, the March contract. That's where the volume and open interest are. However, some of you might say, Rog, I don't play futures. I don't want to play overnight futures. Freeport McMoran is the proxy that we use in the futures room and in the Sector Secrets Mastery. We talk about this in the options room too. If I'm interested in the copper futures, HG, but you want to play the stock proxy, that's Freeport McMoran. All right. So yes, we love this dip. That's a fantastic dip. And it's going to be a stock that will track very closely with copper. I know the question was about silver, but I'm going to steer clear of silver right now and ask myself, is there a metal that I have an edge in? And I'd have to say it's copper. All right. All right. Next up, good morning. Good morning, everybody. BLNK. All right. So BLNK. This particular stock, again, beautiful double green. And if I recall, if those of you that are a member of Simpler, heck, even if you're not, check out the Simpler Trading YouTube channel, because Danielle did a video on BLNK, and I think she's got a good read on this. I'll give you my read on this, and it starts with, of course, the double green. Double green absolutely tells me it's long only. And then whether it be a pullback to a 21 exponential, whether it be like this, or whether it be to the wave itself down in here, this is absolutely going to be a situation where these pullbacks are going to be the opportunity to get long. And then, yeah, I'm looking for the move back out of the wave higher. I won't look for the market to look. Here's where I want to be aware. I've got no problem. I mean, I'm in a nice window where if we're going to continue to rally, I've got a nice window to earnings, not till April. So that's going to be super helpful as far as not having to concern myself with the volatility of that. But yeah, I like the long side of that. Absolutely. Next up is Bank of America. I like XLF a lot. In fact, let's jump on over to the TOS charts for a moment and take a look at what I call the multi. This is where I take a particular index or a particular ETF and then look look at the heavily weighted stocks that trade within it. This is the multi-chart, high concentration weighting, relative outperformance scan, but visually done basically with 12 charts on the screen and with emphasis on the trade flags. So in terms of XLF, I'm absolutely game. And I think for a lot of you that want to play banks right now, a very affordable way to do it, to put some skin in the game in the tide, sort of playing the broader story, will be the XLF itself. ETFs, options on ETFs are oftentimes very inexpensive, which is great. In addition to that, do we like things like Bank of America? I do. We've got earnings in our rear view window, which is great. I'd also put BlackRock up in there. Bank of America is, again, another really affordable name to play. Keep an eye on JP Morgan. I like that one a lot. Goldman at the 21 exponential. Absolutely. Morgan Stanley, American Express. The issue, though, is, and let me just juxtapose those aforementioned names in the American Express. Yesterday in the premium video for the options room, I discussed this week's sort of the major earnings names, and American Express is one of the ones with earnings still to come. So I would remember two things. One, American Express being a top 10 weighted name in the XLF will have an impact on the ETF. So that could be some volatility that kicks in on the earnings day. But that's the one in terms, or any of these within XLF that still has earnings to come. Look at it as a post earnings play. Look at that as maybe taking advantage of an expected move and setting up a trade on that. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Hey there, Enduro. Yeah, we talked about Tenet. What was it? Weekend before last. I'm obsessed with that movie right now. Yeah. So you watched it, had to rewatch it a lot. Yeah. Like me, I just, it's funny. Once football season is over, and let's face it, it's pretty much over now. We've got the Super Bowl done. What am I going to do on a Sunday when I'm doing my chart work? And usually what I'll do is put up a movie that I can just keep on in the background that really doesn't engage me too much because I've watched enough, but I really enjoy having on. Tenet's definitely going to be the movie for a while on my Sunday homework days, for sure. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Goldman Sachs. All right. So right back into this conversation about post-earnings, pre-earnings, and that beautiful double green uptrend in the XLF. Yeah, I absolutely love Goldman in terms of, again, path of least resistance being higher. This is an aggro level, though. This is an aggro level as compared to what I would expect would be more conservative once I get down to the 34 EMA wave. But I can put a little bit of skin in the game, meaning don't put a huge part of your position. Maybe it's going to be, half, 30%, a quarter, right, of what you would typically put on. And you would just have a little bit more, as I say, powder dry in case we get down to the wave. And then I can complete scaling in to the position. So I do like Goldman. I do like a lot of the XLF. Absolutely. A TSM. Sure. TSM. All right. So, and I missed your AMC. Hang on, Enduro, man. I'll go back over there. TSM has been, for me, last year, was probably one of the best names. Steady, boring, reliable, right up my alley. TSM, heavily weighted within the SMH ETF. And by the way, why am I always going back to ETFs? Gang, the days of having to scour the world of stocks, intently looking for what that next move is amongst 3,000 or 500 or whatever. I think that is done because what we can do now, we don't have to do all that sort of needle in a haystacking. We've got these lists of stocks that are heavily weighted within these things called ETFs and indices, where we already know there's going to be attention, there's going to be volume, movement tethered to a larger picture that's in the sector or in the index. That to me makes my life easy. I'm trend compounding. What does that mean? I'm compounding the trend. Is the index moving higher? Is the sector within that index moving higher? And then what about the heavily weighted stocks in that index. That's what I mean. Let's compound that trend. Let's make sure that not only is the path of least resistance for the stock to the upside, but the sector and the index, because when those are sort of clearing the way in the jungle, right, then I know that stock's going to have an easier, more cleared out path. It's not having to fight larger forces in the market, right? So that's why we do this, and that's a big part of what we do in the Sector Secrets Mastery. That's what you're seeing me do right now, which is, do I have that compounded trend? Do I have the index, sort of clearing the path, and the sector coming in behind it, and then all these heavily weighted stocks? Remember, high concentration weighting is going to be something we will see affect the indices, most of the ETFs, and even some of these new, very popular, I say new, they're new in terms of attention, but your ARK. The ARK ETFs are going to become a big part of what I'm going to do, because now we've got transparency. We've got a lot of understanding of what individual stocks weightings are within the different ARKs ETFs. That's going to be a very interesting, active way to, again, build that watch list. And where else are we getting watch lists built? What's really interesting is, let's say I wanted to do, somebody asked me, Rob, we're seeing a lot, and this goes back to Enduro, your AMC question. And, look, it's a pretty, I'm looking at the scan here on my other screen. And basically, look, if I wanted to know what is, the short interest, of course, but really high short interest. And there's an interesting interesting search. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is FinBiz, and this is one of the more popular scans running around out there, right? This is something I'm observing, from here. I don't want to go, I have to plant the flag on the top of the mountain. I want to see where the psychology is. So I'm sort of following the attention, following the psychology. So you're looking for that high short float. And right now, look, you could call that the Reddit scan, right? Under $10, high short float. And that's where your AMCs are coming from, right? That kind of scan. You're looking at these guys on Reddit just Donkey Konging, right? You guys are Donkey Konging a lot. Look at the hedge fund Melvin, right? They're Donkey Kong a lot of these short funds. And look, no short in front of here, but I'm kind of loving the retail trader flexing their muscles, saying, look, don't tell us we can't play this game, right? Because if you guys were doing that, if these short ideas were coming off some sort of hedge fund letterhead, no one would give it a second thought. But because it's coming off a Reddit board, oh my gosh, these are crazy. I love it. I've seen a lot of crazy things in my many, many decades playing this. And I got to tell you, I'm sort of secretly loving what I'm seeing. But that to me is sort of the Reddit scan, if you will. All right. Yeah, it's running for sure. But you've got to be really careful with these. I don't want to sound like, yeah, let's just run in. You got to be careful with these, but they are very interesting. And I don't think they're done yet. So we covered TSM. Let's see here. WRK. So close to earnings. The question is the big red candle. Okay, so I don't have red candles. I have grab candles, but I see what you mean. The dark blue down was due to a ransomware attack. Earnings are January 28. Yeah, I don't. No knock, Scott, to Earnings Whisper. I don't use that data. I use something called Estimize, and maybe that'll be a conversation we can have tomorrow, because I am out of time. That 20 minutes flies on by. Gang, thank you as always for the questions and for joining me. We do this every morning from 9 to 20, and then I want to get off the air and let you guys head over into your respective rooms to start the day. Thank you as always. If you have questions, get them in early in the chat stream, because I just go right down the list. Thanks for being here. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 9 a.m. We do this every day from 9 to 20. I'm going to head on over to my day job right now over in the Simpler Futures room. I'll see you all later. Be good to each other. I'll talk with you soon.